Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. Just a few more people need to take your seats. Please take your seats. Thank you very much for taking your seats. Good morning. Trustees, presidents, administrators, and students. I am Pete Sursa, chair of the ACCT Board of Directors and a trustee at Midlands Technical College in Columbia, South Carolina. I'd like to take a moment before we begin the National Legislative Summit that we thank each and every one of you for making the effort to be with us and supporting the community college mission. With all that has transpired since we last met in D.C., we have seen unprecedented attention and recognition of our institutions. Now is a crucial time for the community college leaders to advocate for our institutions and to work with our legislators to ensure that community colleges continue to receive the support we deserve and that we need. So again, thank you for being a vital part of this process. On stage with us this morning is ACCT President and CEO Noah Brown, who will be moderating the question and answer session segment after our esteemed speaker's remarks. It is now my pleasure to introduce Denise Sachery. Denise is Secretary-Treasurer of the ACCT Board of Directors, and she's also the board chair at St. Louis Community College in Missouri. Denise.
Thank you, Pete. Good morning, everyone. I, like you, am honored to be here today, so before we begin, as a courtesy to all the attendees, please be sure that all cell phones are turned off or put them on silent. Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for the day. Penny Pritzker is an entrepreneur, civic leader, and philanthropist. She served for 2 years as a member of the President's Economic Recovery Advisory Board, which advised the President during the economic crisis on topics such as the stimulus, infrastructure, and economic, housing, and tax policy. She is also chair of Skills for America's Future, or SAF, a new public-private partnership that prepares workers for the 21st century jobs. The aim of SAF is to foster a national network of partnerships among employers, labor unions, and community colleges. Some companies that are already participating in SAF include Accenture, Gap, and United Technologies Corporation. You'll hear more about SAF in Penny's remarks. In addition to running multiple businesses, Penny is chairman of the board of the Chicago Public Education Fund and serves on the boards of several major corporations. She was National Finance Chair of the Obama for America campaign and co-chair of the 2009 inaugural committee. Penny and her husband, Dr. Brian Trobert, through the Pritzker-Trobert Family Foundation, fund innovative initiatives to improve the quality of public education, to promote health and fitness, especially among our young people, and to support the arts and cultural activities. After her remarks, Penny will be happy to take your questions. Please join me now in welcoming Penny Pritzker.
Thank you. Good morning. Denise, thank you very much for the nice introduction. I've been spending a lot of time here lately in D.C., so even though I live in Chicago, allow me to welcome you to our nation's capital. I understand we have attendees here from 35 states, which is fantastic. I hope the next few days will be informative and very productive for you. I've been looking forward to speaking with you this morning because community colleges are very top of mind for me these days. The same is true for Dr. Joe Biden, and indeed for the President himself. I'll be talking about why in a minute, but for now let's just say it's about time. It's about time that we take a fresh look. It's about time that we take a fresh look at the institutions that enroll 44% of all college undergraduates. It's about time that people appreciate that when our K through 12 system falls short, which unfortunately is far too often, community colleges are there to pick up the slack, providing some form of developmental education for over 60% of incoming students, and in many cities, far more. It's about time that people understand how hard community colleges are working to remain affordable. It's about time that community colleges get the credit they deserve for providing two critical things to their students. First, the essential educational foundation that broadens minds and creates engaged citizens, and the skills they need to become productive workers in both in-demand and emerging industries. And finally, it's about time that we put to rest the unfortunate notion, still held by some, that America's 12 million community college students are somehow less capable or less equipped to compete. On the contrary, if you want to witness the fierce determination it takes to achieve the American dream, if you want to experience America's melting pot firsthand, and if you want to see what courage and hard work really look like, just visit any one of our country's more than 1,100 community colleges. I'm here today because, like you, I am deeply invested in improving education in America and in helping to ensure we are building a workforce prepared for the 21st century. To explain my passion for these issues, allow me to share with you a quick family history. In 1881, my great-grandfather Nicholas arrived in Chicago from Tsarist Russia. He was 10 years old and dirt poor. He taught himself English by reading the newspaper and by studying dictionaries. To make ends meet, he sold newspapers, was a tailor's assistant, and even became a licensed pharmacist. He also attended law school at night, received his JD at age 30, and opened a law practice in 1902. This practice became the foundation of a family law firm that eventually employed Nicholas's 3 sons, which ultimately diversified into corporate and real estate investing. And I've spent over 2 decades myself working for my family. So when I use the words American dream and melting pot, these aren't just hollow phrases for me. They're the essence of who I am and where I came from. My great-grandfather's access to education, the opportunity to continually improve his skills, and good old-fashioned hard work all enabled him and subsequent generations of our family to thrive in this country. We have truly lived the American dream. But today, I worry. I worry that dream is out of reach for too many Americans. As the President said recently in the State of the Union address, the world has changed, the rules have changed, and for many, the change has been painful. How true that is. The explosion of technology means business can do far more with far fewer employees. Today, we need a knowledge-based workforce equipped to continually learn and adapt to an ever-changing economy. And this became even more urgent during the recession. Meanwhile, other countries are out-educating and out-preparing their children to compete with ours. As such, and for the first time in our history, there's a chance that today's children could be the first generation to experience a lower standard of living than their parents. That idea would have been unthinkable to my great-grandfather. It's unthinkable to me, and it's unacceptable to the President, who notes, and I quote, "Sustaining the American dream has never been about standing pat. it has required that each generation to sacrifice and struggle and meet the demands of a new age. And now it's our turn. We know what it takes to compete for jobs and industries for our time. We know how to out-innovate, out-educate, and outbuild the rest of the world. I share the President's commitment to meeting the demands of a new age, and I've been trying to do my part to see that we succeed. For over a decade, my husband and I have been deeply involved in improving Chicago's public schools. We are strong believers in the ability of public-private partnerships to create lasting, scalable change. And we support a number of initiatives to develop a pipeline of strong principles for our schools. I've also been fortunate enough in helping America compete on a national level. For the past 2 years, as Denise said, I was honored to serve on the President's Economic Recovery Advisory Board. We call it the PRAB. Everything in this city has an acronym. During the economic crisis, we provided the President with outside input on a wide range of topics as we worked to bring our economy back from the brink and to begin recovering from an economic crisis that cost us millions of American jobs. These topics included economic policy and the stimulus, housing policy, infrastructure, retrofitting buildings for energy efficiency, exports, and tax policy. But now, as the President says, our #1 priority is to ensure we are doing everything we can to get the American people back to work. Community colleges are perfectly positioned to help us do just that. So let me spend the rest of my remarks talking about why and how. Community colleges are the link that connects the aspirations of America's students with the needs of American business in the 21st century. Over the next decade, the balance of new jobs will shift away from unskilled labor to high-skilled industries and jobs that require post-secondary training. These include jobs in managerial and professional fields, healthcare, sales and office support, education, science, technology, engineering, and math, food and personal services, community services and the arts, as well as high-level manufacturing technical jobs. To fill these jobs, our country will need 22 million new college graduates and nearly 5 million new workers with post-secondary certificates by the year 2018. That's a tall order, and it's why the President is so pleased that community colleges have taken on his completion challenge with the goal of awarding an additional 5 million community college degrees and certificates by 2020. You and your institutions will also have a direct impact on our ability to attract businesses to this country. Let me explain why. Getting our national economy growing again requires regional focus because products are produced locally. Regional industries are like taproots, whether it's the auto industry in Michigan, the tech industry in the Silicon Valley, or the services industries in the South. They create offshoots of suppliers, which in turn spawn a network of businesses that support them, creating a virtuous cycle that employs an expanding population of workers. So if regional economies are the key, how do we attract businesses to a particular area? It's not really about financial capital. Money is porous. It can go anywhere. Businesses locate where there is a strong, continuous source of human capital. And as you know, community colleges play an important role in decreasing the cost of human talent development for businesses, particularly the small and medium-sized ones that are so essential to our economic growth. But despite the high unemployment rate, appropriately skilled human capital is not so easy to come by, and jobs, good jobs, remain unfilled. This challenge is often referred to as the skills mismatch, and it is exacerbated by the recession. For example, when the housing bubble burst, demand plummeted for workers in the construction industry, while in the meantime, booming industries like healthcare have had difficulty finding enough workers with the right technical skills. In addition to the mismatch challenge, employers also report that recruiting qualified workers is too time-consuming and too expensive. So when we think about what America needs, a huge influx of more highly educated workers prepared with the skills for tomorrow's jobs in regional economies all across our country, it could not be clearer that community colleges are at the right place at the right time. In short, our country has never needed you more. The President believes, as I do, that with the help of community colleges and other stakeholders, we have an opportunity to transform education and workforce training in this country so that we can stay competitive in a 21st century and so that more Americans can pursue a fulfilling life. A new initiative called Skills for America's Future is that opportunity, and I'm very excited to tell you about it today. The groundwork for the program was done last year by the PRAB. To learn about today's workforce development challenges, we held a series of meetings with 7 different industry sectors in our economy: technology, healthcare, financial services, small businesses, energy and utilities, service and retail, as well as manufacturing and construction. These conversations taught us 3 important things. First, the public-private partnerships are one of the most effective ways that we can improve the skills and credentials that American workers and students are receiving. Specifically, partnerships between businesses and our nation's community colleges. Second, that while every sector had examples of effective partnerships, they were too few and too far between. And that it can and should be easier for businesses and community colleges to work together. Third, we learned that everyone involved is willing to do what it takes to make this happen, including the private sector, community colleges, and government agencies, as well as labor. So out of this research came the idea for Skills for America's Future. It will help channel the willingness of all parties to improve economic opportunity by fostering and improving partnerships between American business, community colleges, and other economic development institutions that improve the value of credentials earned by American workers. The initiative is housed at the Aspen Institute and will be part of what's called the Economic Opportunity Program, which helps to improve community college programs for low-income workers. Executive Director Karen Elsie, who's here today, and her core team will lead the initiative, and their work will be nationwide. And speaking of the Aspen Institute, I'm very pleased to tell you that the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence will be awarded for the first time at the end of 2011. The prize gives us all a tremendous opportunity to celebrate what is working in community colleges. So Skills for America's Future is a win-win-win, one that will benefit students, businesses, and our country. After all, an American economy that grows, succeeds, and provides greater prosperity to everyone is a goal we all share. So now let's move on to the program's objectives and how it's going to work. Skills for America's Future has 5 objectives. First, to improve the preparedness of the labor force to match the needs of an ever-changing economy. Second, to help Americans of all backgrounds, abilities, and socioeconomic circumstances attain meaningful credentials that allow them to find and stay in good jobs. Third, to achieve excellence in training so that businesses can efficiently and effectively recruit talent. Fourth, to foster collaboration between businesses, educational, governmental, labor, and community organizations. And fifth, to create a more competitive American economy. Given those objectives, here's how Skills for America's Future is going to build effective partnerships. The first step is to attract attention and bring players to the table. That is, employers who can make commitments to the program, and community colleges that can identify the needs that a business partnership would help fulfill. To get the word out, we'll use earned and paid media, outreach to employers, and regional summits. We're very excited to be working with the American Association of Community Colleges to identify existing employer-community college partnerships and to create new ones. That will lead to better employment outcomes for students. By combining our efforts, we'll be able to access the nation's network of community colleges and find ways to connect them with employers. Through its Center for Workforce and Economic Development, AACC encourages public-private partnerships at a time when community colleges are severely challenged by increased demand and fewer resources. By highlighting innovative examples, including those provided by Skills for America's Future's founding partners, we can offer strategies to colleges that will benefit their students and their communities. Dr. Walter Bumphus, AACC's new president, is here today. We appreciate his commitment to working with Skills for America's Future as he develops his priorities and agenda for the future of community colleges. And we look forward to his help in translating the needs of college leaders across the country into solutions that business leaders can provide. Next is to get everyone informed about what really works. We don't need to completely reinvent the wheel, since many high-impact partnerships between employers and community colleges already exist and can be replicated. For example, during our research, we looked at the best practices of 5 companies that are doing an excellent job of improving and developing workers' skills. Accenture, The Gap, McDonald's, Pacific Gas and Electric, and United Technologies Corporation. These 5 companies helped us to develop the program and have signed on to be part of it, investing their skills, their expertise, their people, and their dollars to support and create more high-impact partnerships with community colleges. So here's just one example of a partnership that's working. Pacific Gas and Electric is facing a shortage of skilled workers to manage its power system. So they're providing $1.5 million of in-kind support to community colleges and other partners through its Power Pathway program. The goal is to create career paths with new energy jobs in areas ranging from clean technology vehicles to smart power grids. We'll want to draw from experiences like that to create what we are calling a partnership playbook, if you will, for emerging partners to use. Informing people about what works also means making employers aware of federal funding opportunities to support partnerships. So we'll inform participants about new funding opportunities as they arise and provide one-stop shopping on information about government programs. Third, we'll play matchmaker by helping to connect employers interested in forming partnerships to community colleges ready to support them, and vice versa. We realize that the last thing community colleges need is to be deluged by numerous partnership requests from individual small and medium-sized employers that would be inefficient and impractical. Instead, We'll encourage firms to develop strategies in the aggregate or by industry sector, as opposed to one at a time. Fourth, everyone wants to know where the bar is set to see how they measure up. So we'll certify best practices by identifying best-in-class partnerships that fulfill key criteria. And finally, we'll recognize the best partnerships. We might also showcase successful efforts and raise key emerging issues in an annual forum on the state of workforce development that includes employers, community colleges, and policymakers. We're also working closely with the Department of Labor to discuss whether it is possible to identify the underlying criteria for effective and sustainable employer and community college partnerships. One goal would be to develop the criteria that would be incorporated into consideration for competitive grants and federal funding. What you do is important, but so is how you do it. So we've identified a few core values that will guide our actions. Skills for America's Future will be a bipartisan effort, bringing together diverse stakeholders without regard to party affiliation. It will succeed through collaboration and partnership. After all, solutions and partnerships cannot be a loss for one party and a gain for another. They must benefit both parties. And the program will be evidence-based and results-oriented. It will draw upon the best research available and be guided by approaches and policies that maximize impact on behalf of Americans and help them to succeed in the new economy in the 21st century. Our hope is that Skills for America's Future will launch a national movement to strengthen America's workforce, to optimize job training programs, and ultimately job placement. After all, putting the resources into training and development of workers is one of the best investments that we can make as a country. So that's Skills for America's Future. While we feel very good about the work we've done so far, we certainly don't have all the answers, not by a long shot. We're really at the beginning. To succeed, we're going to need your experience, your feedback, and your participation. And even at this early stage, we already have plenty of questions for you. For example, we'd love to know more about the existing partnerships you have with industry, and to have your help in identifying the criteria for effective and sustainable relationships between community colleges and employers. Here are some other questions. What's working that should be promoted as a potential best practice? What are the stumbling blocks? Who are the business champions at your community colleges? What do you need from employers to improve the delivery of education and training for your students? And can you in turn be entrepreneurial, timely, and nimble enough in your response to employers' needs? This is a big issue. We're ready to get the dialogue going. If you're interested in being on our mailing list, please subscribe at skillsforamericasfuture.com, or .org, skillsforamericasfuture.org. That will allow you to receive updates and learn how you can engage in our activities. In addition, you can email your thoughts to Karen, our CEO, at karen.elzey, E-L-Z-E-Y, at aspeninst.org. Let me wrap up by quoting Tom Friedman. The world is flat. Technology has leveled the global economic playing field, and our country isn't keeping up. As a businesswoman and a proud American, that thought keeps me up at night. Like all of you, I have great dreams for the next generation, just as my great-grandfather Nicholas did for his children and grandchildren. Therefore, we must redouble our efforts to stay relevant.